Hi, I'm Cindy, your co-host for the presentation of the Video Owner's Manual for Technics models G7, G5, and F3. This video manual will give you in-depth information and explanation as to the proper and full use of your instrument. And now it's my pleasure to introduce you to your host and instructor, Seth Rye. By combining his in-depth understanding and easy way of explanation, it becomes fun and simple to learn all the wonderful features of your organ. Many of you have heard Seth live in concert and listened to his albums. There is no question to his wonderful talent. His ability to fully utilize all the features of these amazing instruments was learned, just as he wishes to teach you. Watch, learn, and enjoy. And now, here's Seth.
Thank you, Cindy. It's a pleasure to be with you to show you all about your instruments, about the features and the tabs and every little button on it. And there's one thing I want to cover up front is that this instrument that you see is the Technics SX-A1 system. It's the professional model, the stage model. Now, it's just like your organ, though. It's just like a F3 or G7. Just cosmetically, it looks different. So just remember that. Now, I want to start off and play a song. So here we go. Techniques. They're really something, aren't they? Now, the rules of the game are going to be, I'm going to show you every button, and as we do it, I want you to do it the same thing at your home, sitting at your organ. So, take a little time right now. If you need to stop the tape, do that and get everything situated. I want you to be on the organ bench, and you watch the TV, get that little remote control so you can stop the camera or the video recorder as you go. So let's discover all the sounds about the organ. The central control system of the Technics organ is the orchestral conductor. It's right in the middle of the instrument. That's how we turn the different sounds on. You'll see a button that's marked upper tab voices. So let's do this. Let's push record, upper tab voices. Records on the lower left of the instrument. Now, upper tab voices. Now on the far left of the instrument, on the top up here, says tab voices, digital dial bars. Now, what that is, see, years ago, organs had these bars that actually pulled out, and they created tones, and as you pulled it out, the volume got louder. On your instrument, you should see in your screen, the musical display, little lines under the 16, the 8, the 5 and a third, etc. So let's turn off those by pushing on, like number 1, just push at the top, and you'll see the lines go away. Okay, you see how that's happening? I'm on 1 3/5 now. You can actually push several at a time. You don't have to just do it one at a time. Okay, let's do the 16, 8, and 5 and a third all together. The reason we're doing this is that I'm starting at the beginning, ground zero, because now I have no sound on the upper keyboard. Say, as I push the upper keyboard, I have 3 fingers down, C, E, G. No sounds there at all. So now, as we go back over to the tab voices and start pushing number 16, right here, slowly, the sound will start coming on. Hear that? Okay, let's go to number 8. All right. This is what you call pulling out the drawbars. Now, I'm just going to go and put them all back on, so it'll be the full flute sound. Hope you're doing the same thing, too, now. All right, let's do the 1 3/5 and 1 1/3 and 1 foot all at once. Okay. I'm sure that you've noticed by now that after you push record and the upper tab voice button in the orchestral conductor, it started flashing. Well, it'll continue to flash till you finally have things set like you wanted. Then we push upper tab voices one more time, and now it'll stop flashing, and all the flute sounds are turned on. Now, the fun thing about using the organ flute sounds is you can just have so many sounds. Have you ever heard an organist play and they have that real pretty organ sound? Well, I tell you what they're using. It's 16-foot flute and 1-foot flute. So we just turn on 16 in one and turn the others off right here like this. So now I have just the 16 on and the 1 foot. So now as I play, it'll be that real pretty sound. As we go, I want to tell you the other sounds I have on the organ, like the pedal sound or the lower keyboards. I'll be using usually the acoustic bass in the bass section with the volume on medium and the harmonic control on medium. So that means both of the lights will be on in each part of it. Both of the lights here and both of the lights there. Then on the lower keyboard, just as a general sound, use an 8 and a 4-foot flute. So. Okay. Let's discover another sound. 16 and 4-foot flute was the sound of the theater organ. And it's a really exciting sound, and it's that pretty sound. So let's turn on 16 and the 4-foot flute, and listen to this. As I do this, I'll just give a brief demonstration. Okay, so the digital drawbars help you create sounds. Now, to the right of the tab voices, you'll see 4 buttons, and they're marked upper organ presets. What the upper organ presets are is that Technics gives you 4 preset choices. You can set them just like you want them to be, and they're there forever, okay? So how do we get those sounds? Push record, that's important. Then push one of the upper organ presets. By the way, if you take your time going from record to the upper organ presets, and if you take over 5 seconds, it will stop flashing, so that's normal for the instrument. On most of these features, you have 5 seconds to go from record to your next function. So I hit record, organ preset number 1. You'll see some drawbar positions. Just push number 2, for example. It changed. You know what? If you've never changed them before, number 2 is going to be a 16, 8, and 5 1/3. I know it will be. 3 is another organ sound. Number 4, still another. Right now, mine says 16, 5 1/3, and the 1-foot flute are all the way out. Did you know this? That if you look in the owner's manual, it tells you that there are 20 factory organ sounds. How do we get those? Well, now that I have have record on and number 1's flashing, if I just hit key number 1 on the lower keyboard, it will change the sounds. Let's hit key number 2. You see how these sounds changing? If you want to hear them, just hold some notes on the upper keyboard. Let's go back to number 1. Here's number 2. Here's number 5. In the owner's manual, it tells you that number 1 through 4 is a church-type sound, 4 through 9, I really forget all the exact ones, but they're different styles, pop organ, classical organ. So they are true presets. Let's do this. Let's go back to number 1, record, preset number 1, right there. And let's set number 1. Now hit number 2. I like number 2 like it is. It's a good jazz sound. Let's don't mess with that one. Let's go number 3. Let's listen to it. Let's change that. Let's push number 11. Number 12. How about 12? That's good, isn't it? Now let's listen to number 4. I like that too. So see, all we changed was 1 and 4 of the 4 presets. Once you're through with these, push record, and it turns those off. And now, in those presets, you have locked in your 4 favorite sounds. So now we have upper tab voices as one setting. And if we simply push organ presets in the orchestral conductor, we can go to our other 4 upper organ sounds. Now, there's a question maybe that you should ask yourself. Have you ever done this? You know, push the buttons and seen, experiment with it? If you haven't, please do. Just rewind this part of the tape and just listen to it over. How do you set the digital drawbars? Record is a big, important feature on Technics. You're going to hear me say that more than anything else. So as we continue, I will always use record for most features. So I'm going to go right back to Cindy, and she'll tell you more about these features that I've just talked to you about.
Circled under number 4 is upper tab voices, which is what Seth has just told you. To encapsulate what he said, you can go down here and read on the page in simple language, and it explains a little bit more about what he said in connection with the tones. For example, flutes. The clear, mellow sounds of this tone family provide the basis for most voice combinations or registrations on the organ. If you flip over in your owner's manual to page 11, we go to your organ tone groups, which you can find at the bottom of the page. This is when he was talking about all of the different organ sounds that you can program and find in your Technics organ. 1 through 5, as they're numbered on your keyboard, are your pop organs. You have 6 through 10, which are your jazz and rock organ sounds. Then you have 11 through 15, which of course are the classical sounds of the organs. And 16 through 20, last but not least, are your special organs, or the specialty items. That can give you a little idea of where to find what we've been talking about and how to play around with the different sounds that you can get
Cindy,
with
you're
your
so
instrument.
good at this.
Thank you.
I appreciate that help.
Where are you going to take us now?
Right to the middle of the organ.
Well, go to
the
it.
orchestral conductor. And folks, I'm sure as you've been playing the instrument, you do understand that if you want to use the solo setting, solo symphonizer, you have to push the solo button in the orchestral conductor. So let's get a close look at that right here. So the orchestral conductor, the black buttons are for the upper keyboard, and the gray is for the lower keyboard. Let's take upper tab voices. Of course, we know what that did. That turned on the tab voices on the far left. Percussive. That turns on all the percussive sounds. Now, look just above that and see how it's yellow. Well, that coincides with the color of the presets. So that's the way it is that the orchestral section has orange above it. Well, the orchestral section is orange buttons. See, it's all color coordinated, kind of works together. Some people haven't really realized that this is the way it is, so don't feel bad if you haven't noticed that. The solo sound. So we have push solo button, we go to solo symphonizer. Vocal ensemble. Well, it's red underneath. Well, the vocal ensemble button happens to be red as well. Strings, it's yellow. And the organ presets, it's white. So that's the 4 buttons that we just set all the 20 factory presets. So please experiment with those sounds I showed you a moment ago. Now, let's do something that automatically is turned on if you just push the section. That's the bass section. It's always on, just depending on the volume you have set. So let's go to the bass section on the far left of the instrument once again. And you have a complete selection of sounds. Now, these sounds are used with certain types of music. The 16-foot, more often than not, is used with theater or mellow music. So if I use that, I will get my theater sound. If we go just to the right is acoustic bass. Now let's add a little bit of rhythm with that, okay? And put on acoustic bass and play. Electric guitar once again. Just another contemporary sound. Pipe bass too. Now this is special. You know, PCM sounds with Technics. That's the live recording of the sound. That means that Technics actually went to a theater pipe organ and they used a microphone and recorded note for note, sound for sound, the sound of a theater pipe bass. So when we hear that, you even hear the wind in it. We have synth-bass. Now, that's definitely a contemporary sound. Tuba. Wow, that's fun for polkas. So if we was using a polka, I'd probably put a march and play. So see, the sounds are on there for a reason. Reason is that there's so many styles of music to play. You always have a selection on a Technics organ. Just to the left of the tuba is pipe bass 1. This is without a doubt one of the most incredible sounds you'll ever find on an electronic organ because it is a live PCM sound of a cathedral pipe organ. Chopper bass, contemporary sound. String ensemble or bass ensemble, I said string because I normally use it with the strings. It's so pretty when you play like strings on the lower keyboard, a cello at medium volume. And then here's that beautiful ensemble bass. Isn't it interesting that you don't have to have a whole lot of sounds on to get a beautiful sound? That's an interesting thought, isn't it? A lot of people think we have to put a whole lot of settings on, upper sounds, lower sounds, brass, you have to get something nice. Well, you don't. Here's those strings once again with just the ensemble bass. See, that's just part of Theme from Ice Castle, so just with strings and the ensemble bass. To the left of the ensemble bass is 8-foot bass. Well, you'd have that's a higher tone than the 16, so. You can combine the 16 and the 8 together. Now, harmonic control, that's in the bass section. It's in every section, actually. It's in the percussive section, the orchestral section, the solo symphonizer section. That it makes the sound a little sharper is one way to explain it. Look on the control actually itself. And look on the left side, it has a 0 or a circle. Then we have a dot. Then we have like a sun, meaning bright. So music sometimes is explained with mellow or bright sound. Let's do it with the pipe bass. You'll hear it really big here. There's the pipe bass on mellow. Listen to it on bright. A whole lot of difference. This is to your personal taste, how you use it. My goodness, it's just how an individual would like to use that feature. A rule of thumb, how to set the sound, is put it on medium. That means push both the buttons at the same time. When you do that, both the lights would be on. Now your sound, instead of being mellow or sharp, is now medium. Then, of course, you have your volumes. The volume indicators here is that we have 4 degrees. If you notice, it has 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, and then 4 lines. So you push the left button, and the light is out. See, there it's on and there it's off. Is that the volume increases. There we go. A little louder. A little bit more. So using the instrument is simply combining sounds together. It normally is the way that you want it to sound, not the way that I want it to sound or somebody else. It's the way you want it to sound. And so you should have fun with it. There are discs available that would go in your disk drive that actually do have settings for you. If you want a theater registrations, well, it will load the theater registrations right into the voice setting computer for you. As we continue, I'll be telling you about the voice setting computer. Many of these features I know you've pushed the buttons and experimented with, but maybe you're not really sure of everything that it does. So that's what I want you to know, is that the voice setting computer is going to be very important during this presentation as well. So let's go right back to Cindy here and have her recap this section for us.
On your organ, as you recall, Seth mentioned that it was the bass section. Now, on page 7 of your owner's manual, you will locate the bass section under pedal voices. So remember, it's not identified in your manual as bass. It's called pedal voices, and it's right here with the circle 6. Try to remember that when you play your organ, you have your bass on at all times. On some of the other sounds, you push a button to turn that particular part of the instrument or part of the sound on or off. But with bass, it's always ready at your command. Under pedal voices, which is bass, you'll notice you have your bass 8, your ensemble bass, chopper bass, pipe bass 1, tuba, and so forth. These buttons utilize the PCM system to provide the full body of real live bass sounds. So they sound like you want them to sound, like a bass should sound. These buttons are used individually, but remember, bass 8 and bass 16 can be combined when you get into more of your orchestrated sounds.
That's right, Cindy. Thank
Seth,
you.
what section have you got for us to
You
go
know,
to now?
let's do this now, because we're having so much fun. Let's just go to the right, okay? Let's go to the vocal ensemble, then we'll go to the string ensemble section, okay?
Okay.
Let me take it for a moment.
And I'll follow right
Back to
along.
me, back to her, me. Okay, vocal ensemble. It's a choir. It's ooh and ah. To have the sound on, of course, you have to go to the orchestral conductor, which is in the middle of the organ. And it, once again, is the central control nervous system of the instrument. So if we push vocal ensemble, then we add, let's say, the sound of the vocals right here. That is the ah, obviously. Now if I push the button again, notice that the light goes off, and it's going to do the humming. Here we go. The vocal ensemble, being an independent section, has its own volumes. Now, I was using it at full volumes. We're going to get into this a relationship of how much volume for this section do you use to that section, etc. Let's go right to the right of the vocal ensemble, and we see the string ensemble. Now, it's a total outline here, string ensemble, 4 different buttons, but it has upper and lower. So obviously, if I go to the orchestral conductor and push upper string ensemble, the black button, we will then be able to utilize the 2 upper string ensemble buttons. Now let's push cello first, full volume. Listen to the violin. Don't mistake the cello and the violin as meaning solo sound. These are not for solo sounds. These are for a ensemble effect, meaning more than one. If you put a lot of violins together, it sounds like this. If we put just a cello together, or many cellos. Of course, you can combine the cello and the violin. All right, now let's do this. Push the string ensemble button in the orchestral conductor, and then select the cello in the lower string ensemble section, full volume. Then let's use the upper violin. How about over in the bass section that we switch to the bass ensemble? Okay, now we're going to play like this. And now this is meaning more than one instrument, not just a cello. A lot of cellos together. More than one violin. That was the easy combination, because my registration is violin full volume in the upper, cello full volume in the lower, and the bass ensemble full volume in the pedals, but on medium harmonics. Okay, see, so combination of sounds, very easy. It can be complicated if you make it that way, but it really, really isn't. Sometimes you might want to add the strings with the piano. Of course, the piano is in the percussive section. So let's go right to the right of that, of this string ensemble, and here's the percussive section, right under the musical display, and begin with the piano. Of course, I need to turn on percussive in the orchestral conductor. Now, if you have the percussive on, any of the percussive voices work. Here's the beautiful grand piano. Here's harpsichord. It is absolutely a beautiful sound. Vibes. I bet you're wondering what I just pushed over there, aren't you? I pushed acoustic bass. Guitar. A lot of times the guitar can be featured just by itself, just on the upper keyboard. Beautiful acoustic guitar. All right, let's start adding excitement to our music. Let's put on something like a samba rhythm. And a little bit of the rhythmic orchestra in the background. They have acoustic bass on medium, the harmonic on medium, steel drums, full volume, and the harmonic on the bright star or the sun right there, so it's bright. And listen to this. It's a lot of fun once you start adding the different sounds together like this. So above the steel drums is the banjo. So let's turn on that banjo right there. Of course, banjo really lends itself to country music. You know what? I just had a thought. Is that using the right sound for the right song is in many cases what our questions are at a concert. People come and say, you know, I don't even know how to use the steel drum. Well, you don't use it with big band music. You use it with Latin American music. See, so that's using the right sound with the right song. Banjo, country and western music. To the left of the banjo is a jazz guitar. Now that's pretty self-explanatory. We will use that with satin doll now and get a real nice. Glockenspiel. That's a lot of fun to use because it's a real pretty sound, and that basically can be explained as a march instrument, a Walt Disney, excuse the word, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying Walt Disney, but it goes great with. Clavecin. Now some of you may use this and some of you may not. Clavecin is a contemporary sound. It really is. It's used in that style of music, so if I were going to use it, I would definitely be something that normally I don't play at concerts because we aren't playing that kind of stuff at... Okay, electric piano. You know, this really originally started off as a contemporary sound, but now it's used really with everything, from Henry Mancini, my goodness, to pretty music, to the Billy Joel. There's a contemporary piano player using electric piano. There's different styles of this. So let me just play the electric piano as it would be if you just push electric piano. You're going to find a section that's just to the right of the orchestral conductor, and it's called effects conductor. Now, each one of its buttons are there for a very important reason. It's because sounds of today, like an electric piano, like you just heard it traditional, well, you take it with a contemporary sound, you would want to add a phaser unit to it. But Technics has seen that this is very important, so your instrument has that. It has a phaser built into it for that section. So let's do this. We'll push the two buttons here, which by adding these two create phaser. You'll see the marking there, phaser. Now, the whole style of this instrument has changed now to... There's also a celeste mode and a chorus mode. Now, the effects conductor is utilized on each section. You can use it on the upper tab voices, the percussive, the orchestral, the solo, even the lower tab voices. And you experiment with those and you'll hear a different sound. Let's do this. Now, what's this right here now is that I'll just put on the upper tab voices and turn off the tremolos. Now, let's add celeste in the effects conductor. You hear that? Turn it off. Now let's add it. Almost like your church type music, isn't it? Let's hear it by adding just chorus. Slow movement. Phasing. It's like a wow, wow. You can hear that. Everything is there for a reason. Some of these features are kind of like more advanced features. You don't jump into them the first night you have your instrument, but it is a feature that you will use later on. So if you have heard a sound that an artist used or another organist has played on a Technics, you may say, aha, they might have been using that feature. Because most people's ears and hearing and remembering is good, so you go home, you try to copy the sound, and if you can't find it, maybe that's the feature that you need to add onto it. So our percussive section, which I was talking about, kind of got away to the effects conductor, is that it can be combined and the sounds can be blended differently. So utilize the percussive section presets effectively. All right? So let's go back to Cindy for a moment.
Thank you, Seth. We're going to go back over percussive presets, which is 9, and it's on page 9 in your owner's manual, just to recap what Seth has discussed about these different presets for you. I'd like to make a comment that he touched upon. As a vocalist and a musician, I'd like to point out the fact that you have to play the right sound for the right song or the right music. You really don't want to have something like a rock and roll feel to a nice ballad. And consequently, these percussive presets and the other instruments that you choose to use for your compositions and when you're playing for pleasure or professionally, think about that, and it will add a level of professionalism to your music, as well as it will sound more cohesive, and you'll find that you'll enjoy your music more because everything will fall into place when you use the right sound for the right song. As we go through our percussive presets, as he described to you on the board, you'll find all of this laid out for you, such as acoustic piano. It provides an authentic voice or authentic sound. We can go on down to the harpsichord, which here is another musical sound that's indigenous to a very specific realm of music, but when it's used properly can really make a sparkle in a specific composition or song. Clavichord, of course, is best suited to backing what we call the funky music, etc. Didn't used to be a very old musical instrument that was hardly ever used. However, it's been modernized, and we've made sure that you have the availability of using that on your Technics organ. We also have listed the steel drum, jazz guitar, etc. Now, I think Seth is going to take you to another section on your organ, so let's turn it back over to Mr. Rye.
Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate that. It's helping me out a lot here. All right, gang, let's go to the orchestral presets. So orange buttons in the instrument, and of course, to turn on the orchestral presets, we have to go into the orchestral conductor and push orchestral preset. Then we can play trombone first. Let's start with that, and I'll use the harmonic control at mellow. Now these orchestral presets, a lot of times you're going to find out, will be used with multi-tones as opposed to solo. So you can use trombone like that. Saxophones will be the background. Clarinet. Wow brass. Synthobrass. That is a exciting and fun sound. It's that particular sound, sometimes I'll use it as a solo in the middle of a tune, and for music like Christmas music, sometimes I use it. Christmas music would be so it's very effective. And I'm just using that sound. Accordion, a lot of fun. French horn. You know, one of the neatest tunes that was brought out was the tune Can You Read My Mind from Superman, the theme from Superman. In the middle part of the song it went. Exactly that same tone, because it was French horn sound. Trumpets, which is the top left button. We discussed that in the preset section, in the percussive section, is that we can go to the effects conductor and use those sounds. I always use the effects conductor with the orchestral conductor. So for example, let's take those trumpets and add in the effects conductor Celeste right here. By doing that, here's Celeste. It just dramatically, musically changes it. It kind of takes it from one sound, let's add Celeste. See, to more than one. It's really amazing how electronics have been able to multiply sounds for you, because all I'm simply doing is holding one sound and pushing a button, and it gives it effect with more sounds. we would use the harmonic controls basically if you'd use it as a solo. So okay, so it's really up to you how you want to add the harmonic control back and forth. But I personally, if I'm using it just as a background or in combinations with another sound in the orchestral conductor, I use it on mellow. If I use it as a solo, I put it on bright. So that right there is just kind of a rule of thumb. That's my thumb I'm ruling it by, but you can do it any way you want. But it works, and it sounds good. To the right of the orchestral conductor, all the way to the right here, we have the red buttons marked Solo Symphonizer. Now, the Solo Synthesizer is really, really neat here. They're PCM sounds. I'll turn on the solo button in the orchestral conductor, and by doing that, now just the Solo Synthesizer sounds will play. The violin, you know, it's so real, it's almost unreal. That's the title of my new album, excuse me. Sounds so real, it's unreal. But if we were using cello in the lower keyboard and the ensemble bass, you can even hear the bow slide across these strings. Listen to this. How am I doing that? Well, see, they do that if they play a violin. They'll slide that note. I'll tell you how I'm doing it. Down on the volume pedal, on the left side, it's called the glide control. What that does, in the manual it tells you it takes it almost a half a tone down. So let me hold a note, then I'll push the glide. It's almost like a whole tone, half a tone. Well, you wouldn't just hold it and go. You'd kind of hit it. See, it's using it effectively. What I'm doing now is playing the characteristic of the particular instrument. Violins do that. Trombones do that. Right? They have that slide of the glide sound. Matter of fact, our trombone is one of the most fabulous PCM jazz trombones you'll ever hear. We're putting organ presets on the lower keyboard, acoustic bass. So let's use the trombone. A lot of people just don't jump in there and use these features. Give it a try. First time you do it, you say, is that right? Of course it's right if you'll go ahead and add it with a song. Please give it a try. Use the glide pedal. Let's take the saxophone. It can be used so many, many ways. And right here on the saxophone, you're going to hear an important feature, which is harmonic control. We have already discussed this on the percussive section, the bass section, and the orchestral section. But really, right now, you're going to hear a jazz saxophone or a beautiful mellow saxophone by just simply pushing a button. So, saxophone, full volume, and the harmonic control on mellow, or the little circle underneath right here, is going to be a mellow, real pretty saxophone. Just listen to this. Let's add some strings to the lower keyboard. Now I'm going to play the same song, but let's bring it up tempo a little bit, like a jazz player would do. Let's put electric piano on the lower keyboard. That's electric piano in the percussive section, and in the gray section of the orchestral conductor, I push percussive. Okay, here's saxophone with the harmonic control on sharp or bright. Now listen, this is just great. Combining sounds is so much fun. It's playing orchestrally. A lot of us are organ players. There's nothing wrong with that. I was an organ player way before I was an orchestral player, and it's definitely two different kinds of people. If you're an organ player, that means you would play a flute or any sound. Let's take the flute, for example. When we play, let's do this. See, organ players play connected all the time because we're so used to an organ because its whole creation was sustaining tones. You hold a note and it just plays until you let your finger go forever. Well, flute players unfortunately can't hold their breath that long. They need to have, take a breath. So play that way, kind of play detached, and your music becomes so real. It's unreal. Here's the flute. Plain, kind of, it's the characteristic of the flute. Hear how I'm doing this? Flute players do that. I don't know why, but they go. All I'm doing is going from the note that's the melody up one. It'll work that way with any song, any way you want to do it. You know something else that flutes do is those trills. Technics is, I think they really thought about this a lot to make it work this way, because if you hold a note and play the note above it, it cancels out the note you're holding. See how that's working? So obviously, if you go fast, you'll get the trill. Now, we can't use both hands on the upper keyboard when we play, so I normally use my thumb and my third finger, which everything takes just a little practice, so practice on that a little bit, and, start playing the instrument real. Here we go. It sounds, it's all the difference in the world when you play orchestrally. Pan flute, just to the right of the flute here. So let's turn that on, and it's just real. There's a rock guitar, a synth chopper, a cosmic sound. All of these are, of course, contemporary sound, rock guitar. Synth chopper. Now, I normally would use that as an effects. It adds a lot of sound. Cosmic is a great effects sound, too. Let's combine this cosmic with the trumpets and the orchestral conductor. So if you're the person that's playing Star Wars or any of the spaced out music, cosmic's the sound to use. Let's use to whistle and do. That's using the right sound for the right song. Oboe, beautiful. Strings on the lower, ensemble bass, let me do that again, but I'm going to talk to you like the person plays. Ready? Play the note. Breath. 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 Tell you something you can do. Try this. Hold your breath, and when you have to take a breath, lift your finger up, because that would be more realistic. If you can't figure out the point I'm trying to put across by playing orchestrally, it works this way. Kind of ridiculous at the beginning, but it works. Start doing that kind of stuff. Your friends will just think you're great, and it sounds so much better. Here's a clarinet. Trumpet, I like this. Remember how trumpet players are always play those triplets, or they tongue the note? I'm doing it with these two fingers because it's hard to go. Really hard. Some of this is more advanced than it is a beginner, but it's like if you haven't been told how to do it, you won't give it a try. So all I can do is encourage you to try. The harmonica is a feature that you may say, well, I don't really know the place to use this. There was a song that came out last year that answers that question. It was Stevie Wonder was on the record, Dionne Warwick, and several other stars, and it was called That's What Friends Are For. So that song goes perfect with this. So that was a few more of the sections of the instrument. Let's get with Cindy here and have her go over those with us, and we'll recap them and then continue with more of the instruments. Here's Cindy.
Once again, let's touch on the information Seth has just given you. First, we'll go to page 9 of your owner's manual, Orchestral Presets. Here, it's got the illustration just as seen on the organ, so you don't have any room for making mistakes except if you misread or misinterpret something here. You can use these voices as solo instruments or in combination with any of the other sounds. Oh, for example, like your wah brass that Seth touched on. You can range from the old wah-wah trumpet they called, or you can take it right up to the newer sounds of today. Another one is the wonderful harmonic control. They are the buttons that adjust your tone brilliance. That's so important in the reproduction of music, or what people are hearing as you play. The sound, the brilliance of the sound, the clarity, the brightness, as it were. Then you have your volume buttons, all important to the level and the dynamics of your music, the balance of the sound as the music is projected. These are very important to learn how to play, to use, to have fun with. Now, let's go over here to page 10, and it's listed as 11, your solo synthesizer presets. Very important. Technics has made these synthesizer effects easy. They're all preset sounds. Each sound is produced by the PCM system. Wonderful. It's technologically advanced to the point that I don't understand all I know about it, but I know when I hear it, it's absolutely marvelous. You have these preset sounds on each instrument. For example, let's say the flute, one of your most versatile and easily played sounds. It's a pure free voice, and it complements so many pieces of music that you can do. Then you can go on, let's move on down here, harmonic control. Here again, all important. It adjusts the brilliance of your tone. It can give you the tone of the flat or the full or the rich or the bright or the high or the low. That's what makes the difference in the individual sounds as you put them together on your keyboard and come out with a composition. All these sounds are what they call monophonic. Now what that means is they will all sound on only one key at a time, no matter how many you press. It gives you the advantage of using these voices in combination with others, yet they will also remain solo sounds. May I say right here that through your owner's manual, the printed manual, you will see the word voice printed over and over again. Don't let that confuse you. Voice is, in the written manual, what that is sound. It is another word for the meaning sound, and they mean voice because that's how it was programmed as a separate sound or voice of each instrument. So when you read the word voice in your manual, just let that go into your brain as meaning the specific sound. If you will turn your written manual to page 14, you will find number 18 circled, effects conductor. This was the last thing that Seth was talking to you about. It's the chorus, the celeste, and phaser effects that are available in five tone groups. Chorus and celeste effects provide beautiful extended sound. Remember when he was punching the keys and he was making the sound come out higher or lower or expanding on it where it sounded like there was more instruments being added to or taken away. That's what this means, the chorus, celeste, and phaser effects. The phaser effect provides a slow, gradual change in sound. If you'll simply play with it and learn how to use it, you won't believe the difference in dynamics that your music will begin to show. It will improve your playing tremendously, make you sound much more professional, and I guarantee you'll have a lot of fun with it. These effects, just a small ending note, do not apply to percussive tones. And now we're going to go back to Seth and talk about another part of your keyboard.
Thank you, Cindy. The next three parts I want to talk about before we get into what I call like advanced features. These are basic features that you're familiar with on the instrument. Everything so far. I hope I've told you a lot more, but you've pushed these buttons. Is multi-tremolo chorus. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the lower keyboard section, and then go to the far right and discuss the sustained features, how you make them work, how everything works. So first, let's go right over here, just to the right of the orchestral conductor, to the multi-tremolo / vibrato, it says. If you have never changed the tremolo, tremolo originally was a speaker that had revolving speakers inside it, a speaker cabinet, and it had revolving speakers. Well, it created such a beautiful sound for an organ is that it's become a standard. So Technics actually has copied that sound. So let's talk about that right now. What I want you to do is push your record button and then the upper tab voice button. Ready? I'll do that. Here's record, upper tab voice button. Look in the screen of your instrument. I know you're going to see that it says 20/3. Now, if you've never changed that on your instrument, it'll say it. But now, I don't keep it at 20/3. I have another setting. Let's go ahead and do this. Let's go lower tab. Push the lower tab button right there. Let me push record, pardon me, lower tab voice. It'll say 6/4. Now, you may like this particular degree of tremolo, but I personally, on the upper tab, I like it to be a different one. So let's take the green tab of the tremolo here and push it at the top. Once it'll say 18/3, then it says 16/3. That's where I like it. Now let's push lower tab and push the top of the green button again. It says 6/4 first, then it'll say 6/1, 5/8, 5/5, 5/3. That's where I like it. Now let's push record. By doing this, we have readjusted the tremolo speed. Instead of it being real fast spinning, I've made it spin. Now, have you ever wondered about this button that's in the multi-tremolo section? It says slow fast. That literally slows down those speakers. Of course, there's no mechanical parts in your instrument. Don't think I'm talking about revolving speakers in your organ. It's not. It's all electronic, but it sounds just like it. Let's push the slow. Okay. Now, I will hold a chord and then push fast, and you're going to hear the speaker start revolving or spinning. This is the beautiful sound of the, I'm trying not to say this word, but I'm going to say it, Leslie speaker. That's what we've all used for years as external speakers, but it's not needed anymore. It's built into our instrument. So let's hold a chord. I'm going to hold a C chord, C, E, G, C, and now push the fast. You hear that going? I just wanted you to know that if you want to adjust the tremolo and vibrato, you can. It can be adjusted. A lot of people don't know this. Let's go to the far right, far upper right of the instrument, and you'll see it says tab voices. Well, the way we turn those on is in the orchestral conductor. We push lower tab voices, and now we have our tab voices will play. Of course, just 8 and 4 are on. Let's turn on the others. What if we want to change those? Remember at the beginning of the movie how we took the digital drawbars and we changed them, modified them? How did we do that? We pushed the record, upper tab voice button, right? All you do is push record, lower tab button. Record, lower tab voice. Now, in the screen, you're going to see your little lines there. Let's turn them all off. Like I said before, we can push as many as you want. Okay, I've got them all turned off now. Notice in your screen how there's 3 lines that still appear. The 16, 5 1/3, and 1 3/5. That's because, is because those do not appear in the lower keyboard. So it's just telling you that. Here's a note to remember. Once you push record on the organ, the lower manual is deactivated. There's no sound being played. What it does, it takes the upper keyboard and divides it up. You have upper sound here and lower sound here. So if I hold these notes, now I hear my sound coming. Down here, there's nothing. That's normal. That's normal. Let me turn all these on. Okay, they're all on full. Now that I have them on full, I'm going to push the upper tab voice button in the orchestral conductor. What I've done is simply turned or pulled out all the drawbars full. And I like to use 8 and 4 in many cases in the lower keyboard sound. If I'm playing it with basically anything, the piano. So the lower tab voices can be adjusted. Let's go to the far right of the instrument. You'll see the section that's marked sustain. Now, what sustain does, it adds, it makes the notes last longer, so you can take your time about getting to the next one, as I say in many cases. It makes them linger on. That's what it does. So, if we just simply push upper tab, sustain, obviously our upper tabs will sustain. Let's turn that off. Now we have several degrees of sustain that I can, that's the lowest or shortest. Let me push the first button here. Let's push them both together. It's a little longer. Let's push the button on the right. All right? That's what sustain does. Now, it happens to be able, you can put it on the upper effective, and it affects the upper. You can have it affect the percussive, because it says U and L means upper and lower, percussive presets, and the lower keyboard. Here's a little secret for you. There's a knee lever right on your instrument. I hope you've used it. It's up under here. If you never pull that thing down, it's up under there. So all we have to do, if it's in the up position, sustain will just automatically come on. All right, now let's do this. Let's pull down the knee lever here. We'll pull this knee lever down right there. Now it'll rest in a place, and it's straight down position. But it also will go to the right and then fall back. See, like this? What that does is now, aha, I had the sustain on, but now it's not working for some reason. It's because if I push the knee lever over and hold it, I will get sustain. Okay, the most effective reason for that is if you use it on the percussive section, for example, a piano. Pianos do not sustain all the time. Pardon me. Push percussive on the orchestral conductor. So I have the knee lever up. The pianos will sustain during an arpeggio and then stop. So that's why we use the knee lever. That's what the little knee lever's for. That's exactly. Just another effect that makes Technics the most authentic instrument that you can find musically. And over in the in the sustain section, pardon me, is the bass sustain, which you remember the bass section's always turned on. Just hit a pedal and whatever sound you have on will play. But you have the 4 degrees of sustain too. So there it is. Let's turn on a little bit, a little more, and full. This is really at your own discretion. Many of us use it at medium. Right below the sustain section here is digital reverb. Digital reverb meaning that, see, years ago organs had a spring, which is the way reverb was created originally electronically, but now they've gone into just solid state parts. There's no spring in your Technics here. So it's electronically reproduced. You know, the reverb, here's what it does, is that if you didn't have carpeting in your home, didn't have the drapery, had none of that furniture in there, nothing, just bare walls and the wooden floor, your sound would automatically just kind of echo around, bounce around all the walls. Well, Technics takes into consideration that you don't have that, that you do have all your carpeting and furnishings. So if you wanted to give the auditorium effect, here's without. Very dry, very dry. Let's put it on full. See how our effect just kind of lingers on just a little bit? That's what reverb's for. And it adds more animation to your playing, let's say. It just really adds a lot of effect. Once again, we'll go back to Cindy, and she'll cover the parts I've just talked about, and then we'll go into some of the more advanced parts of the instrument, like the play sequencer, how to actually do that, the programming of a rhythm. I know you all have asked how to do that. How to work the program chord computer. I'm going to give you examples of how to do all of this right after this.
Now, to summarize, we'll go back over a little bit of what Seth has just explained to you. On page 7 of your owner's manual, number 5 is your lower tab voices, and that covers your digital drawbars, and your tab voices incorporate your flutes and your strings. These voices are heard when you play on the lower keyboard. They're used mostly for accompaniment. and they're played by your left hand. Try them individually and in combinations. String 4 and 8 add, again, that magic word, add brilliance to any voice combination. Try it with the flutes. Number 17 is your multi-tremolo vibrato, and that's covered on your keyboard in your Technics organ. It goes, for the basic effect, a tremolo is a rapid change in volume, or the loudness. It's a rapid change of pitch on your high and low tones that adds the warm, wavery quality, like you'd hear in a horn or in a human voice. Vibrato, as it mentions here, is in a singer's voice and in the tone of most wind and string instruments. Your upper tab voices let you bring any of the upper tab voices into the tremolo or vibrato effect. The lower tab voices allows you to do the same with the lower keyboard voices. So you have your slow, fast, and your up and down, and once again, that magic word, the brilliance of your music can be changed dramatically by using some of these different effects. Let's move on to page 14 and number 19 in your owner's manual, which is the sustain controls. By learning how to use these controls, you can learn how to add a dimension to your music to fit the mood and the behavior of whatever composition you're working on. It also adds a great degree of richness and fullness to the sound of what you're trying to play. It adds to the effects of your music and gives you a professional quality. You can also have a lot of fun by adding it to different sounds or different types of music that ordinarily, if you hadn't found that and begun trying to learn how to use it, you'll experience a whole new dimension in what you can work with on your organ. Lastly, we'll move to 20, which is on page 15 of your owner's manual. That's your reverb and digital reverb. Now, you've got just the two buttons for this one particular situation on your organ. It's an abbreviation for reverberation. If you've walked down a narrow, uncarpeted hallway, or as Seth mentioned, that you were in an empty room, you may recall that your footsteps echoed. It fills a sound out, and it continues the sound on. Again, I can't stress how much this can add to your playing, whether you're playing by yourself or you're accompanying someone with a voice or even another instrument, such as another organ or an individual instrument that you're playing together with, an ensemble. You can have fun, you can learn a lot, and most definitely it will make you sound a great deal more professional in your playing. Now let's move on to some of the more heady effects that are in this incredible piece of machinery here, where we really get down to the nitty-gritty and some of the things that you may have been a little afraid to try. We're going to get in there and explain them to you and make them just as easy and just as much fun to play with and learn about as the rest of the effects that you might already have tried or have begun to learn about. We want you all to turn to page 32 in your owner's manual. At the top of the page, you'll see number 37, Play Sequencer. This is one of the more difficult features that we have discussed that we want to teach you how to do. And then it's going to be just as fun and easy as all the rest of the features that are offered by this marvelous instrument. All parts, bass, lower, upper, and solo, can be stored at one time, or parts can be played separately and then synchronized for storage. For example, a bass line played on the pedal keyboard is first recorded. As it is played back, chords can be added using the lower keyboard. Then, as the new recording is played back, a melody line can be added using the upper keyboard. Solo synthesizer presets can also be used. The combined recording, or any of its elements, can be retrieved at any time. Are you thoroughly confused? Well, so am I. And that's why we have Seth here, because he's going to show you what I just said. And then it's all going to fall into place. Seth?
All right, Cindy.
Take it away.
Okay, gang. Play Sequencer is like your own internal recording studio. It's simply what it is. Years ago, they had cassette recorders on organs. Now we have computer memory. So our computer memory is your Play Sequencer. And there is a bass pedal part and a lower keyboard and an upper keyboard part available. Like Cindy was saying, you can record them individually, but don't forget this, is that you can record all at the same time. Now, to start off with, if you do not have a disk drive, this is a disk drive for the Technics organ right here, and you would need a disk drive or a digital memory pack such as this. Now, a memory pack has memory for one song only using the play sequencer, or 4 memory file drawers, which the memory file drawers work in conjunction with the voice setting computer, which is one of the features that we go to next. It's an either-or situation, either 4 memory file drawers or 1 play sequencer song. The the disk drive works with a computer disk, just like this. Now, it can remember 20 memory file drawers and 20 songs. So if you don't have a disk drive yet, you're going to see the real advantage in the power of it to have one. Not trying to tell you to rush out and buy one real quick, but using the registrations as we've been going throughout this video, showing you how to set combinations up, etc., you could have been storing all of that onto voice setting computer sections, put it on disk, and then you can recall it from the disk. So I'll use the disk to demonstrate this with. The play sequencer is in the lower right-hand section of the instrument, and there are 4 buttons, and they're marked bass, lower, upper, and solo. The play sequencer works in conjunction with the record button. We push record, we do that, record, bass. I want you to look in the musical display and it'll say 350B. That means that you have 350 bass notes you can play. Let's push the lower button. In the musical display it says 500L, meaning 500 notes in the lower keyboard. Let's go upper. 500U, you have 500 notes on the upper keyboard. Now, after you've pushed record and started pushing the play sequencer buttons, they flash slowly, and they continue to flash until you push record. Now, really, actually, I'm ready to go. All I have to do is play something. It's that easy. If I were to play with or without rhythm, it makes no difference. Let's say I play using a rhythm. Let's push record. Now, if I'll just simply push the start-stop button in the rhythm section, it will play back the song I just recorded. Isn't that great? By the way, this is not a song. I made it up for you just right now. See right there? It even held the notes for as long as I held them. Now, that's the basics of a play sequencer. Sit down at your instrument, push record, bass, lower, and upper. Play a song. Good, bad, indifferent, I don't care how it comes out. Just do it. Give it a try. And actually, in many cases, a play sequencer, like a recording studio, you can hear your progress as you go. Not mistakes, it's your progress. So sit down, push record over here on the left-hand side, and push bass, lower, upper. Then play a song, push record. Let's do it one more time. Let me turn off the buttons here in the play sequencer. Now push record, the bass, the lower, and the upper. Let's see if I can play that same song again. No, I can't play it the same way. Now, let's push the record button, which stops the recording. Let's push the start-stop in the drum section here. Here we go. You can even change sounds. Piano. See? As it plays back, you can change the sounds. That's why that there's pre-recorded disc available now today. This is the disc that I have available. It has 20 songs from big band music to theater organ music to Disney music, just all kinds of music available. And if you have a disc drive, you simply put this in the disc drive and call up the song you want, and then it actually works like a player organ. The advantage is it's not that it's playing the organ for you, is that you get all the registrations. 160 registrations is on the disc. So that's enough about this. How do we take the song that we have now and we want to save it? Well, a disc has 20 tracks. Let's say we're going to start on number 1, track 1. Here's what we do. Record, push that button. Then there's a button marked Full Band Setting Computer. It's on the far right of the instrument, right down here by the power switch. It's called Full Band Setting Computer. So you push Record, Full Band Setting Computer. Then on the lower keyboard, it's numbered 1 through 20. Push number 1. And it will take that song and put it on disc. So let's do that. Let's push Record, Full Band Setting Computer, number 1. Right there was the beep that acknowledged that the song is in there. Now's the time for me to tell you another feature. This is why I kind of call it the advanced features, is that I want to prove my point to you, is that I just stored the song into the disk drive. And on the A1, it's a built-in disk drive like this. Yours is an optional disc player like this. So what we do here is that to clear the organ, go to a factory setting. You know how to do that? I do. What's this? Push Full Band Setting Computer, and the F-sharp key marked Initial. It's right between 14 and 15. If you push that, it clears the instrument right to the initial state it came from the factory. There will be nothing in the voice setting computer. It's just a general registration. But fortunately, I stored my song on disc, right? Everybody say yes. Yes. All right. How do we call it up off the disc? Like this. Hit Full Band Setting. Of course, you put the disc in the disc drive. First thing. Then you push Full Band Setting, number 1, because that's where we stored it. So I go Full Band Setting, key number 1. Hear that beep? What's this? All right. Let's review that once again. To record a song, push Record. Select bass, lower, and upper. Play the song, then push Record, and it stops the record mode. If you want to hear it back, just push Start, Stop in the rhythm section. How do we save the song on the disc? We do this. We push Record, then Full Band Setting Computer, and then I stored it in file drawer number 1 on the disc. So I hit Record, Full Band Setting, number 1. It'll beep, and it'll tell you it's in there. And folks, it's in there forever. You now have saved your songs and your registration. I can talk about this more and more, but I've told you how it works. This is really how it works. I can do it again and show you, but that's what you do. So just rewind the tape now. Listen to this again. How do we record a song? Record, bass, lower and upper. Play the song. Push Record to stop the record mode. If you want to hear it back, push Start, Stop. How do you store it? You push Record, Full Band Setting Computer, and select the file drawer. I just used number 1. If I wanted to, I could store it on 1 through 20, the same song. So it's your choice. Because if I have one song on number 1, my first song, I don't store anything on number 1 again because it'll erase it. So I'd store on number 2. And the discs are so inexpensive to buy and to have. I'm sure you'll have a whole collection of discs with all your registrations and songs that you like to play. That's the play sequencer. You need a disk drive to have expanded memory. If you have a memory pack, and if you've gone to a concert and had one of the artists give you some registrations, before you change the control on the back from full band setting a computer to play sequencer, I want you to know this. The moment you change it to play sequencer, you lose your other registrations. So make that thought first in consideration if you want to. You might just want to get a disk drive if you don't have it. So play sequencer, it's a lot of fun, and you should be saving your songs. You should be hearing how you're progressing with your registrations, and just continue on your playing. Now let's cover another section of the instrument. It's called the voice setting computer, and it's in the middle of the organ, and it's the green buttons. The voice setting computer is utilized for storing your registrations. Now we use the word registration, and maybe I should use the word settings. You know what the settings are? It's when you set your sounds up, and then you have to try to remember, oh my goodness, where does everything go? Well, that's what a voice setting computer does. Remembers your settings. Now, did you know there's factory presets, 20 factory presets that you can get from the instrument? So the way we do this, we have a little system, and we call it red, green, white, green. Red obviously meaning the record button. Green meaning the voice setting computer. You have 7 choices to store them into. White is one of the lower keyboard. It's numbered 1 through 20. Those are the same 20 keys that are used for the organ presets. You remember that at the beginning? It's the same ones used for the factory presets. It's just the way you go about drawing them out. So red, green, white, green. Red is record. Green, let's say it's going to be voice setting computer 1. White is going to be number 1, and then back there. Let's do it. Ready? We'll push record. Voice setting computer number 1. Let's use factory preset 2. Right there. And then push voice setting computer number 1 again. You know why you do that? It's to lock it in. It's because you're talking to this instrument. You're talking to this little brain. You're saying, remember this. And it's flashing. You give it some information. You say, okay, I'm ready. And it's going, lock me in. Red, green, white, green. So let's do number 11. I believe that's the big band. Red, record. Green, let's put it number 2. Number 11, white, green. So, tell you what we set up was the number 1 was a church organ. Number 2 was the big band. So you can literally go from a complete orchestrated arrangement, registration, setting of a big band to a cathedral organ by pushing 1 button now. So here's the big band on Saturday night. To Sunday morning. You can't do that with anything else. Technics provides these presets for you. It's a way to start. After you've set up number 11, which was the big band, well, if you want the orchestral preset trombone that's in there, if you want it louder, I turned it a little louder. Let's put the harmonic on sharp. Okay, I like that. How do we lock that into number 2? Because we're changing it, right? Push record and hold it. Push number 2. Release record. Release number 2. Push record. Number 2. Release. Like that. That's really exaggerated. But it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Record this. It'll do it every time for you. Voice setting computer stores complete registrations. It remembers the sustains. It remembers the reverb lengths. Remembers everything you've got on you if it comes to the settings. And when you set that up and store it over into a computer disk, it's in there forever, the way you have it. So what we're doing is taking little pictures as we set the instrument up to store our registration. May it be all the flutes, upper tab flutes, I push that for the flutes. Lower tab flutes, push lower tab flutes with strings. How do I store that? Record, I'll put it number 3. 3, release. It's in there now. Here's the big band. And here's church organ. The voice setting computer is a great feature. Please use it. I would like to discuss with you now about the automatic rhythms. Technics has a variety of automatic rhythms, as well as a section that you can compose your rhythms. Let's take a close look at the automatic rhythms that are preset in the instrument. Now, if you simply select a bossa nova, you will get the bossa nova or swing. It's just a one button. Now, to get, for example, swing 2, you'll notice that the notation says to push these two together. That's normal on our instrument. Let's put on the swing and start it. Okay. With the instrument, we have what's called the arranged percussion section. Now, the arranged percussion section of the instrument adds variation to our playing. So, if you would push 1, it's the basic rhythm, 2's another variation, and 3's another. What it does, it adds more instruments. And it's varied, too. The computer is kind of changing things around. So let's look at the arranged percussion section of the instrument. It's right in the middle of your organ, of the F3, and the G7. It's over on the left side by the rhythm. But here's arranged percussion number 1. Let's listen to 2. It's adding different instruments. But there's a bongo. Number 3 even adds more. So depending on the rhythm, now I'm just going to put on a bossa nova. Let's put number 2, number 3. There's even some hand claps in that particular one. And right below the arranged percussion variations are intro buttons and rhythm fill-in. So if I push rhythm fill-in 1, do a rhythm break. Here's number 2. If you want a solo, you just push them together. And it'll play a solo for as long as you keep it there. Now, if you play on the upper keyboard, it stops to hold a chord down or a note. The rhythm solo comes back on. It's really an amazing instrument. Something else is that the rhythm breaks are always different. They're never the same. That adds more musical pleasure as you progress here. Composing a rhythm, it's fun and it is easy. I want to show you how easy it is because Technics took the time to put in programmed arrangements for you. Maybe you don't know they're there. So how do we program a rhythm? We push record and let's use composer number 1. Now on the lower left-hand side of the lower keyboard, you'll see buttons marked clear, beat, second bar, triplet, pitch accent, and then some Roman numerals, 1, 2, and 3 here. Those Roman numerals is the key to programming a rhythm on Technics. I pushed record in composer 1. Let's start the rhythm. Hear that tick-tock? That's normal. We will clear that out. Take it away. Push clear. See, it's gone. And let's program a very simple rhythm. I will push the picture of the bass drum, which happens to be on the Disco 1 rhythm. Now, there are presets, right? Let's push number 1. That's neat. I wonder if you ever tried that before. Here's number 2. Here's number 3. Number 1 is your basic 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How do we add another sound? Well, let's say we want hand claps. Just right up above the bass drum. Push that. Select a Roman numeral. Here's number 3. One thing you'll find out is that any combination of the 1, 2, or 3 with any sound, they all work together right. It's really amazing how this is. Let's add one more sound. How about a snare drum? It's on the swing 1 button. Let's put a snare. You know what? I don't really like those hand claps in there. How do we take them out? Push hand clap, then push clear. They're gone. Okay, if we like this particular rhythm, very simple, just a bass drum and a snare drum, we push composer 1. And it confirms that. It's locked into that. So let's do this. Just to prove the point, here's a bossa nova. Composer 1 now. What's this? That's the basics of how to program a rhythm. There are presets in the instrument. Please give that a try. Let's take it another step and understand the word beat, the second bar, the triplet, and the pitch accent. Here's what it is. Let's push record composer number 2. Start the rhythm. Push clear to confirm how this pitch accent works. Pitch means it will change the tone, and accent means it'll make it a little louder. Let's put a bongo in. That's on the waltz, the upper right button in the rhythm section on number 1. Now that I've done that, let me push pitch accent and push 1 again. We have 2 different sounds that are playing here. So that is exactly how our pitch accent is going to work. What's the second bar? Well, second bar is actually that you can write 2 measures for each composer. So you have 3 composers, so that means you have 6 measures. Let's push record number 3, and that's pushing 1 and 2 at the same time here. Now that I've done that, start the rhythm. This is very beginner style, but please do it this way. If you don't start at the beginning, you sure can't start at the top and work down. Do it this way. Let's push clear. Now, how do we do this second bar? Well, we've got to understand it first. Let's push bass drum, number 1. All right, we did that. Now, I'm going to push cymbal. That would be the shuffle, meaning it would be the closed hi-hat and the open hi-hat buttons together, the 2. Hold second bar, and let's push number 3. Okay, I'll push composer 3. Now, how do I know that I have it? Is that I'll listen here. I'll have a measure of the bass drum, and then the cymbal comes in. Cymbal, bass drum. Isn't that amazing? So that's the second bar. The beat is really something that's fun to use because you can even program 3 beats to a measure. Now, I want you to do this. Push record. Let's use composer 1 again. Hold down, start the rhythm. Let me clear that out. Put the bass drum, clear. What's the other sound? Snare drum, clear. See, that's easy to do that. Now do this. Hold down, beat, and let's say we want to have 3 beats to a measure. Which numbered 1 through 20? Push number 3. Look in the screen. It will have 3 lines appear now instead of 4. Hold down, beat, and hit 2. It only has 2. The Technics composer rhythm is very, very versatile. Now, just a brief explanation of how to actually, step-by-step, program a rhythm. Let's do our system of how to initialize the instrument. You remember that? That was full band, initial, full band. Push this, initial. Okay, now that I've done that, here's what we do, gang. So we push record, composer 1. Start the rhythm. Clear that out. Now, let's do it this way. On the top right button, it's the waltz. Push that button. On 0, 1, 2, 3, put in that sound. 0, 1, 2, 3. Hold down, pitch accent, and put on 4, 5, 6, 7, our next one. Let's push the floor tom. That's on 16 beat. On number 8, 9, 10, 11, we'll put in some more sound. Hold down pitch accent and go 12, 13, 14, 15. What we've done is written like an introduction rhythm. That was on number 1. So after I start it, it will do this. You hear that? An automatic rhythm. The programming step by step is not something that you just jump right into the first time you sit down to our instrument. But it is something that you can work with your instructor, your teacher, and that they may have a special part of your song that needs something special. That's what the program rhythms are for. And please take advantage of it. I'm going to have Cindy do part of this next section, the rhythm sequencer. Cindy, have a seat, okay? Folks, the rhythm sequencer button is just right to the lower right of the rhythm section. So to turn on the sequencer, we press record, the red button. There you go, Cindy, you're doing it good. Now rhythm sequencer. If you remember, I told you earlier in the film you have 5 seconds to get to the feature, or it just stops and you do it again. Okay? Don't forget these small things.
Okay.
Now, Cindy, a rhythm sequencer means, you know how we did our album and we would have like a rhythm play, like a bossa nova, for so many measures, and then it switched to a swing beat, and then back. I didn't actually push the buttons. I had the organ do it for me, but I simply talked to it. This is a computer, it's a person, you talk to it. So let's talk to this instrument, all right?
Okay. Just
Just like they're going to talk to their F3 or G7 or G5.
Okay.
Let's select the bossa nova, right there. Okay, let's have it play for 4 measures.
Okay.
Now the lower keyboard is numbered 1 through 20. Select number 4. That's it. It'll beep for you.
Heard a little beep.
Right. Now, let's have it play a rhythm break. Okay? Push rhythm fill in number 1. There you go.
Another beep.
Right. Now let's have it go to a swing beat, variation 3. So that means we push a range percussion, both of them together. Okay. For 4 measures.
All right. So that'd
Push
be
number
right
4.
here.
Right. Now, if we want this to just go around and around, that means 4 measures of the bossa nova, then the rhythm break, and then the swing, we can, there's notations on the upper right of the keyboard that tell you to do that. Or we can just have it stop, either way you want to. Okay, now I'm going to come right over here. Cindy, it's in the blue section because it says rhythm sequencer and chord composer. This key right here, the B flat, will make it stop. Or these 2 notes will make it loop, go around and around. Let's just have it stop. So push that key right there, the B flat. All right? Now, guaranteed, folks, this is going to play 4 measures of a bossa nova, do a rhythm break, jump to a swing beat, and then stop.
And I did all that.
You did all that.
Okay.
Start it right there, and we'll listen to it. 2, measure 3, 4, swing, 2, measure 3, measure 4, stop. Isn't that something?
I'm so good.
Okay, see, so yes, you are. All right. Very good. Now, the rhythm sequencer can be explained much, longer, but that's the way it works. You know what I mean, Cindy? They just sit down and have fun, and it adds a lot to their playing. Did you know you can even program in that you want to turn the rhythm on or off? Simply talk to it.
So this is what makes all those different combinations and dynamics when
As
we
I-
are working together.
Absolutely. Let's start the rhythm, and you push the mellow button right now.
Okay.
Right there, push the mellow button. See, it took out the bass drum.
Ah, very distinct.
Okay? There's even background, so I'll come back to that particular part in just a second here. And the backgrounds I was talking about is called rhythmic orchestral. And it's a section right here, right below the rhythm section. Now, they do patterns. We can listen to them. Let's do that right here. I'm going to sit down with the instrument and just hold a chord on the lower keyboard and get that. Okay, we'll have backgrounds play. Hear that? Now, depending on the rhythm you have, the different instrumentation it will create. It's just entirely up to you. This is important to know, too. Remember how we composed a rhythm? This has composed backgrounds, too. Even though these are programmed into the computer when you use a preset rhythm. It'll always be the same right there. Is that we can push record composer 1, do your rhythm by using the Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2. Then you can push the button that has a little guitar marked on it. Here's a picture of it that has a guitar marked on it. Or the picture that has the piano. And literally just push Roman number 1, 2, or 3, and it will be a preset. So the Technics is so versatile is that it does its own thing for you by the way that the engineers designed it, or now you can create it to do things as you want it to do musically. How do we set the tempo speed? That's just below the rhythmic orchestral here, is that you select the tempo. Look in the screen if you want to play 120 beats per minute. Okay, 120 beats a minute. How do we lock that in? Push record, and let's put it on number 1. Now, let's set the tempo at 186. That would be fine. And push record number 2. What have we done? We've set 2 rhythms. So I'll start this. There's the first tempo. Here's the second by just pushing a button. Once again, adding variation to your music, making it very, very easy to play a song and go from fast to slow, but just pushing a button. If you want to ignore or cancel the tempo set, please just push both the green buttons together and it cancels it out. Then your tempo control takes over. The fine button will definitely fine-tune. If you go to tempo 1 that we have set at 120, let's push fine, and you can really go 126 or down to 14. Do that a little bit, and you can fine-tune it. Okay, this once again is giving you more variation of the tempo set. So you push record, hit tempo set, select your next tempo, then push record tempo set 2. So that's how tempo set works. What's the bass solo button, the gray button? Down on the volume pedal, just to the left of the volume pedal, is another pedal. People ask, what's that other pedal for? Well, I'll tell you what that other pedal is for. Is on your F3, it's a big pedal. On the G7 and G5, it's a little pedal. It's right. It's just to the left of the C pedal, the top C. It's a little chrome pedal. If you hold that down while you have the button on, the bass will play on the lower keyboard for you. If you hold it down and the light is not on over here, my goodness, you'll play the bass and any sound you have on the lower keyboard at the same time. So that's where it works, is that you just hold your foot down, you have the lower keyboard sounds as well as the bass, or bass solo, you push the bass button and turn it on. Now, folks, let's discuss the program chord computer section. That's in the lower left-hand side next to that famous record button that we've been pushing so much. The program chord computer has 4 buttons in it. There's a cancel button, a PCC, that means program chord computer, a fingered button, which allows you to play those automatic chords with 3 fingers or even with 1 finger, and a memory button, which will remember the notes you've held. Let's really get in depth in this program chord computer. I'm going to have a seat here and show you how this actually works. In doing this, I want you to follow these instructions step by step. Wouldn't it be great if you could take all of your songs that you play and all the songs in the books you have and put them on computer disk? Well, you can. It's not, you know, can you now, or hopefully soon you'll be able to. It's available now. Because you can go through all your songs and put the chord sequence in the background, store it on disk, and then if you want to play that Somewhere My Love, my goodness, you just call it up, and they'll play the background chords. But how do we do it? Like this is how we do it. Push record and program chord computer. Now, in the far right-hand side, the lower keyboard, there's a blue section marked Rhythm Sequencer and Chord Composer. Now, there are a lot of notations here. The owner's manual really gets in depth and tells you how these operate. But I'm going to tell you briefly. This key, if pressed, if you're holding a chord down, will make that chord be for 4 beats. If you press these 2 notes at the same time, you can put 4 chords in a measure. This one here, it would be the chord for 2 beats. This key here will make the chords you put in your complete song and you want it to stop, that would have been the last thing you'd have done, was push this. If you put in a few chords and you want it to go around and around and around and around, that's what these do. You push these two. These arrows right there and here, this arrow there and that arrow, allows you to review your chords. And you'll see them in the musical display. Allows you to review them and see if you've got them all right. If you have a mistake, you can do what's called editing. Put the new chord in. And then we have other musical notations. Let's do this. Let's put in a 4-chord sequence. We're going to put in a C chord for 2 beats, an A minor chord for 2 beats, a D minor chord for 2 beats, and a G7 chord for 2 beats. Now that I've done that, I want those chords to play over and over and over and over. What do? We push these 2 notes. Because if you see the little arrow going around and around, that means looping or do over and over again. So let's do that. Now that I have done that, those 4 chords are going to play back and forth, back and forth. Let's listen to that right now. Play. Something else I want you to do is to the left of the musical display, it's called Mode Selector. The button on the right that says Function, push it. Your chords are there. So that was a C, A minor, D minor, and a G7. It's playing them back and forth. Now there's memory of up to 100 different chords and functions you can put into here. So a lot of people that play, let's take an example. Mom plays good and Dad is just a novice at it, right? So Mom, why don't you put in his favorite songs to the program chord computer? He then can simply call it up on disk, and at that moment he starts the rhythm and simply plays the right-hand melody, and both of you are working together because you put the background chords in for him. That's the simplicity of program chord computer. It's just simply a storage system of the chords of a song and the playback system. Program chord computer. To the right of the program chord computer section, just above the start-stop, is Technichord. Technichord is a feature I know you were demonstrated to at the moment you saw this instrument, is that it gives you a professional sound. Professionals, my goodness, they play not with 1, 2, heck, they play with 3 fingers, so you'll never see them play. They play a lot of fingers. Well, you don't learn that the first night you go home. So what you do, many people never learn it. They use Technichord. So if I play 1 finger and add Technichord, I now will get that professional sound with 1 finger. Due to the popularity of theater organ music, which if you remember at the very beginning, about 8 minutes into the video, I told you to push 16 and 4-foot flute. If you'll do that and add the closed and open, here it tells you closed harmony, that's both of the buttons together, it gives you that perfect theater organ harmony that it requires years of learning to do that. So let me do this. Here is with the open harmony. Theater music, it's never been easier to play and sound exactly like a theater organist. Folks, we have really covered the F3, G7, G5 at length, and utilizing Cindy's talent to explain the written information, I feel that most of your questions are answered. I have got a couple more comments I want to make. The program buttons that are available for the upper and the lower section of the flute or tab sections, the white buttons, that adds brilliance to your playing. So do this. Push record, program button, and in the screen, I'm sure if you've never worked with this, it'll say 1G. do yourself a favor. Push 2C. How do we find 2C? Just start pushing every note till that little thing says 2C. Once it does, you now are multiplying your sounds. Listen to this. Let me push program. That's like adding another hand. If I wanted to skip from this chord up here, I'd push 3C. It's another effect that allows a beginner and the home enthusiast to get that professional sound, because we, in many cases, play with two hands on the upper keyboard. Well, if you'll use program, it'll do it for you. It'll give you that effect. So that's what program is. The transpose button is the last button I want to discuss with you. It's right here on the left-hand side. Now, it works in conjunction with the lower keyboard. The middle of the section, if you notice, there's a blue C and a blue F-sharp / G flat and a G. So it says G, C, and that F-sharp. Right in that section is how you operate transpose. Musically, it sounds fun to put a song and have it just go up a half a step. How do we do that? We push record, then press transpose. Look in the musical display. If you've never set the transpose, it will probably say C. Or if you initialed, right? Full band initial. Now push the C sharp. That's the black note just right above the blue C. It'll say D flat. Let's lock that in. We'll push transpose one more time. Now that I have done that, I know that the moment I push transpose, all my music is going to go up a half a step. So let's do that. We'll turn off transpose, and let's select electric piano, acoustic bass, no Technichord, some strings, and if we were doing a tune, okay, let's push transpose. Ready? That's what it's about. Musically, it sounds good. You know what? Your friends will think you're great if you change your key, change it on them. Plus, if you have somebody that comes over, that's a singer, and they're definitely not a Cindy Hart, because she can do about anything vocally. I tell you, they always want to sing, right? Well, you find the key that they're in, and you can still play on the white notes. We thank you very much. Have fun with the video, and enjoy your instrument. Thank you.
Bye.
You didn't think I'd leave you without playing a song, did you? Here we go.